Hello, fellow human beings out there. Um, Welcome back to my channel, Trans-cending Leadership. And as we can see, I do have a guest today. Okay, Melanie Kingdom. Melanie is an HR professional. Even though I'm gonna let Melanie speak for herself in a little bit. One thing that I do want to try and normalize whenever I do have any guests is always to ask the first question, which is, "Hi, Melanie. How would you like for me to address you?"
Hi. So, first of all, hello, Tammy. It's so good to see you today. And thank you again for inviting me to share with you and with your audience. Mel or Melanie, both of those, I respond to both of them. I know who you're talking about. And for my pronouns, I prefer they, them, theirs. Just a quick note on that, though, because I know a lot of people who are not familiar with using they, them pronouns. If you make any mistakes, don't worry about it. I'm lucky to be at a point in my journey where I feel pretty confident. And I know that everybody's trying to do their best.
And that's great. That's a great point, and I always try and bring that up as well. It's that I use she, her pronouns. If you make a mistake, just you're a human being. You made a mistake. Just apologize, move on. That's all.
Yeah.
We don't like to make a whole big thing out of it. So,
I know we're going to have some time to explore this, but I have my mother is a baby boomer, and when I came out to her, um, her tact was, "I love you and accept you no matter what, and as long as you're happy, I'm happy." And she struggles with pronouns, but I know that she tries her hardest. And I always tell people that you really can get a sense of who is making the good faith effort versus who's not, you know.
mhm,
So,
yeah, exactly, exactly.
yeah.
So, so a little bit about you. What brings you joy lately? I mean, we know that everything around us is just sky high crazy.
Yeah.
So and we have to look inside ourselves a lot of times. So what brings you joy?
Yeah. Honestly, a lot of things. First off, I think um bringing joy is a really keen turn of phrase. When you said that, I was thinking it really is. It's not just that joy is happening to me, it is a discipline of sorts to create joy in one's life, especially under current circumstances. So the things that I'm doing, actively doing to try to create joy in my life, um, include indulging in my hobbies a lot. So
Mm.
I've been doing a lot of sewing, especially since I don't always find clothing that fits my body type and the style that I'm trying to look for. I'm doing a lot of like sewing and crafting, spending time with the people who matter to me, my friends, my spouse. Yeah, that's what is bringing me joy right now. Oh, and also enjoying the fall foliage.
Yes. I know. I just had my hair done in the autumnal colors.
I love it. I love it.
Thank
Beautiful.
you. Thank you. So now getting a little bit deeper down,
Yeah.
how would you describe yourself? And if, depending on how far you want to get into it, just the journey of becoming who
Yes.
you are today.
Well, I'm still on the journey. I'm still very much on that road. I think there are a few different elements to my identity that I think are relevant for our conversation today. Um, when it comes to being a member of the LGBTQ community, I knew from a really young age that I was attracted to both sexes, both genders. And that was something that I was really lucky to be able to express to my parents, to my religious leader at the time. And I was greeted, thankfully, with safety and with welcoming arms. My rabbi at the time told me, I was 12 at this time. He encouraged me to be safe and talk to my parents if I felt safe talking to them. But more than anything else, he said that it was normal to have these feelings, which made me feel so much less alone. And that a lot of people experience those feelings, and that it was going to take some time for me to learn what I really enjoyed in life and to be cautious about putting a label on, because it is a lot easier to add a label than it is to take one off once you have
Mhm.
it. And I found that to be true throughout my life. Um, so that was my early journey. And then in my 30s, I started really reckoning with my gender. And for me, I went through a really dark period of time with it initially, as I started to realize that I couldn't keep pushing these feelings down that I was having of discomfort in my body. Um, I felt as though I was facing a very binary choice.
Mm.
Um, One where I shoved those feelings down and decided not to reckon with who I was. And that felt like not a life at all. As a trigger warning to your viewers, there were really dark thoughts during that time of my life. Um, and then the other side felt like I can be true to myself, but I will lose my career. I might lose my marriage. I might lose friendships and family. I wasn't sure how they would react to me being authentic to myself. So I'm here at this point. I've been out now. I ultimately decided to take a hold of my life and be the person who I wanted to be. Um, and I'm about 5 or so years into that journey. And I didn't lose my career. I didn't lose my spouse or my family or my friends. Um, and I think that I'm still discovering what a non binary identity, gender identity means for me.
Mhm.
Initially, the beginning of that journey was defined by finding ways to avoid dysphoria or feelings that my body wasn't matching my identity.
Mhm.
And now I feel like at this point it's been defined by euphoria. So rather than trying to get away from the bad feelings, I've been moving towards the good feelings.
Right.
So it's been beautiful,
Good.
honestly.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And that's it. The journey is always, we are continually moving on this. So that's
Completely.
yeah, and I mean and that's really fantastic, that we're all going through our journey and the dark times and the down times and the up times
Yeah.
and depending on the age and the generation that we are, it's for kids, yeah, they have to deal with, for the youth with their sphere of influence, which is usually a whole lot smaller than when you're an adult in the
Yeah.
working world and everything. You have such a larger sphere of influence to think about and
So true.
to try and live your authentic life. I mean, that's really difficult. So, and speaking about authenticity, I mean, what do you wish more people knew or more people understood about what living your authentic life really means?
Yeah. Um well, I can answer for myself here.
Hmm.
And for me, because my gender identity, which I don't think I specifically said, but I identify as non-binary. So neither male nor female, or both male and female. Um, and specifically, my identity is fluid. So it changes. Sometimes I'm feeling very much more inclined towards presenting as a woman, sometimes presenting as a man, sometimes in between. Sometimes I don't want an identifiable gender at all. So it's a moving target for me.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that that is a little bit of a microcosm for the community as a whole. So when I think about what I wish people understood about what authenticity really looks like, I would say that I wish people understood that it can look different for everyone and that everyone has a place. This a phrase that I commonly come back to is, especially when I'm thinking about other people internalizing my gender and how they regard me, whether it's pronouns, whether it's name, whatever, is that I've probably thought a lot more about my gender identity than anybody else has. And so, I regard other people with kindness and compassion and patience as a result. I hope for that same kind of kindness, compassion, and patience when they regard me as well. Um, I've also thought a little bit about how vast of a community we get to belong to as trans people, and the diversity within this community is so incredible, and that's what makes it such a rich community and fabric to be a part of. Um, Everyone from binary trans people to non-binary trans people, and this is maybe a little bit controversial for some, but even people who would be considered maybe detransitioners, all of them have a place in this community. I was thinking about the late Leslie Feinberg,
Mm.
who
Hmm.
wrote the book Stone Butch Blues.
Right.
I had an opportunity to meet them before they passed, and their journey was not linear either. They had started off identifying as a butch lesbian and for reasons of survival pursued testosterone treatments and surgery, and then came off of hormone treatments at a certain point in their journey, but continued to feel as though they occupied a space in between. And I think that the way that we regard ourselves and our identities is inextricable from the environments that we have to navigate
Hmm.
and the families that we're a part of and the communities that we have. So it's subject to change. And that's okay. That's totally acceptable. So that's I'm not exactly concise here, but that's what I wish people had a better understanding and comfort with.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I absolutely, and that's it. We have to give each other grace throughout everything. No matter
Yeah.
if you're non-binary, gender non-conforming, transgender, cisgender, it doesn't matter. We just have to give. We like to put these labels on everything.
Yeah.
However, a lot of these my primary label is just human being, and we just have to look at each other as one label, human being, and that's really it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know, I know. Um, I'm gonna edit this. I just have to close my window. Somebody started mowing.
No worries. No worries.
Okay. Okay. So sorry about that.
No worries.
So um okay, yeah. So we're talking about society and how to see each other and to understand each other's identities and everything. What do you see that shifting in any way? And do you see any kind of disconnect, if any, between the two things is intention and understanding? I always like to say, especially when somebody misgenders me, it's okay, is it just because the individual just doesn't understand, or is the person being malicious? That's the intention. So, do you see any kind of disconnect there, or any way that we can bridge that?
Yeah. Yeah. I do. I To put a fine point on what you were saying, the pendulum has definitely swung in a direction that has made it less comfortable and less acceptable to have a trans identity or a gender nonconforming identity in the US right now.
Hmm.
There's just no way around it. There's been a lot of hostility, and that shows up in a variety of ways. Potentially, the most important ways are through policy, and I'm not shy about this. I will never be shy about this. So I know they tell you not to talk about religion and politics, but if you are a person who considers yourself to be compassionate to people of all different types, and you have a local ordinance about a bathroom bill, or you have a local ordinance about how trans children can seek care with their parents' consent and support, you should do what you need to do to educate yourself and call your representatives, make your voice known
Hmm.
to your state government, because goodness knows other voices are being heard right now. So that's one thing. That being said, I use the term pendulum swing for a reason, and that is that it will come back in our direction. I have every faith that it will. And I think that the moral arc of our timeline and our future will bend towards justice. I have to believe that. Um, you would also mentioned a disconnect between sort of intention and understanding and discerning between those two things. Can I explore that a little bit more?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, so, as you mentioned, I work in HR.
Hmm.
I've been working in HR for almost 2 decades, and I work with a lot of managers. And one of the topics that and leaders, and one of the topics that I cover a lot is regarding empathy, and um, and also trying to de-internalize the feelings of others. So on that second part, when somebody shows up late, it's more about what's going on in their lives, right? It's not about you. You don't have to take that personally.
Right.
I try to take a similar tact when it comes to the way that people regard me. There are going to be people who look at me and see an archetype, a person with colorful hair and certain beliefs and certain presentation. And I have to believe that that is more about them than it is about me as an individual and as a human being. And that really helps me to protect my ego and my psyche and my health, to be
Mm.
honest with you. And then coming back to that first part, when it comes to empathy, one of the big lessons that I try to instill in managers and leaders is that you don't have infinite empathy and compassion available to you. You have to be discerning and disciplined about where you put that energy in, or else you will simply be too tired to do the important work that you have to do.
Hmm.
So for me, I have worked on recognizing when engaging with an individual person is just not going to be helpful. I'm not going to change somebody's mind on an individual basis. And then I focus my empathy and compassion and energy and education on people who are earnestly curious. And I do not think that it is a bad thing for people to be earnestly curious with me. And sometimes they're going to say things that might be a little bit offensive when they talk to me, but I try to create parameters. So, hey, we're going to sit down for an hour and you're going to ask me all of the questions that you have. You don't have to be embarrassed
Yeah.
and you don't have to worry about how you phrase it. But then after that hour, I'm going to need you to stop because I can't be that person all the time. And it's not respectful of me to be that person all the time. I have to respect myself.
Hmm.
So the other way that I try to lead and bend that moral arc is being out and being proud. And for the people who want to change who I am, I say, well, then you don't get to be a part of my life. And my life is incredible. My life is amazing. So I feel really, really bad for you that you don't get to celebrate this with me.
Hmm.
And that's the price of acceptance right there. If
Hmm.
you want to be a part of this awesomeness, you have to come to me in good faith. And that's it.
Hmm.
So those are my feelings on sort of I feel like your question, it's so smart because it's an intersection of so many things. It's
Hmm.
society, it's compassion, it's how we protect ourselves. That's sort of my take on it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's perfect. That's so fantastic. Thank you for saying all of that. I mean, right. We've been through so many things and everything. It's from the way I see it. It's you know what? It takes so much energy just to wake up in the morning. I don't need
Yeah.
to spend it. on somebody who isn't going to, go isn't going to get it. I always say, sometimes being ignorant is not always a bad thing. It means that you just don't know yet.
Yes.
Do you have an open mind to listen? You know what? At the end of the discussion, we may not agree, but thank you for taking the time out to sincerely listen, because we are human
Totally.
beings and we do have different opinions, absolutely. Um, but yeah, where am I putting my energy, which has to be on my own mental, emotional, and physical well-being, even if it gets to the point where my biggest mantra is, you know what, if you're not adding to my life, you're not in my life.
Yeah.
And I don't care who you are, even if it's family or whatever, yeah, ask stupid questions by all means, but as long as you're asking and you really want to know, but if you're just going to shut me down, then
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how other big social movements have moved the needle
hmm
too. Like I think about gay marriage and how important it was to simply exist out of the closet and show all of those families who felt like they would never have a gay child or a gay niece or nephew or eh, who felt like it wasn't a concern of theirs,
mm,
that no, this does affect you, this affects people who you purportedly care about. And I think that we have to show up for ourselves and each other, and just being out is
hmm
a big part of it.
yeah. So that was the end of part one. Like, subscribe so you can see part two. Part two is going to be coming, and just like part one, it's going to be a really good conversation. So again, I want to thank Melanie Kingdom for this. I will make sure to have her contact information, and for her company, and maybe even her LinkedIn profile, everything down in the description. So catch you for part two.